the Best You podcast. The sole purpose of this podcast is to teach, inspire, and motivate everyone to be the best versions of themselves. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Be the Best You podcast. I'm your host, Larry Dawson, and today I got a really good friend of mine on here, Dennis, and we're going to touch on a lot of different subjects. But before we get into that, if you're watching or listening to today's video, please make sure that you take the time to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, send to a friend, help us get this message out there, man. What's up, brother?
What's going on?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do, man.
My name is Dennis, owner of Shine Auto Mobile Detailing. I own a detailing company. Been doing it for a little bit over 6 years now. Entrepreneur. I like to do a lot of investing, car flipping, Turo, things like that. So just a little bit of everything that I can get my hands on. You know, family guy, father of 2 kids. So just a little bit of me.
So I got some interesting questions that I wanted to dive into with you today. And I met you, I came home 8 years ago. I think I met you maybe 6 months after I came home. So almost 8 years now.
Yeah.
All right. As someone that is a different nationality and still continues to travel to other countries quite a bit, what is the biggest difference between other countries and here in America, in your opinion?
So I talk about this a lot when I talk about, traveling back home. My father's from Peru. My mom's from Dominican Republic. So I do quite a lot of traveling for both of those places. But I've also been to like Puerto Rico. I've also been to, Colombia, things like that.
You went to Costa Rica a couple times too, right?
No, that was Punta Cana.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So being back there, I'm a very open, friendly type of person, social person with a lot of people. What I've noticed, the biggest thing is a lot of people down there, it being third world countries, people work and, they don't have everything we have, but they're okay. They make it work. We're there with their families and enjoy their life, things like that. What I find the difference here is we work, we have a lot more things, for ourselves, cars or homes and things like that, live a lot more comfortable. But we also try to keep up with what people call the rat race. A lot of people are working, get a little bit of vacations here and there, but it's really just working to maintain everything that we want to have or can have and things like that. And also the people to me, when you go out, you notice, a lot of people sometimes, me and you connected as soon as we met. But back home, you see that a lot. So you notice where people, you go out, you've never seen this person in your life, but you can talk about everything like you guys just know each other for years. A lot of people here, I feel like, are a little bit more closed in. They're not as open to everybody, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things for me is I like to treat everybody like I've known you forever. We help each other out. If you know somewhere, get something done, whatever, we can just kind of bond a lot quicker than here. A lot of here is just focused on work, home, back to work, back home. There's no really enjoying between people.
Yeah, Sam, the guy that you met at my birthday celebration the night I was telling you was the head of the finance down there in Chicago.
Yeah.
He just made the decision he was moving to Colombia after visiting there a few times.
Yeah.
And buying a couple of Airbnbs down there. But he spent the last, I think, couple weeks down there and was coming back, showing me pictures, talking to me about everything. And he was like, man, as soon as I came back, he was like, God, I want to go back down there. He was like, everyone down there is so nice. They're so thankful for what they have, even if they don't have a lot. Yeah. He was like, they're proud, they're nice, they're friendly, they care about their family, they care about others, they treat everybody good. He said, then I come back here and I walk into Starbucks and I got someone with pink hair staring at me sideways, being rude to me, charged me $10 for a coffee with an attitude.
Yeah.
And me and a lot of my friends, we talk about this a lot, that people here are kind of spoiled and take for granted all the things that we have access to.
Yeah, definitely.
Because over there's no access to that. I was watching a podcast, the Real as Fuck podcast, and the host was talking to one of the other guys that was on there, and this guy, he was a millionaire and he was an entrepreneur, but he talked about how he doesn't understand how people with the advantages over here don't take advantage of them, because where he came from in Mexico, he lived in an area where they had no running water and had dirt floors.
Yeah.
You know, so they don't not blessed with the same opportunities we are.
Yeah.
Me and you both, you know, made bad decisions that landed us locked away for a little bit, and are still able to come home and succeed because of our will to succeed and win. But yet you have people that have all kinds of stuff handed to them and have all these advantages and don't capitalize on it, don't utilize it. They're depressed. They can't be told no. They have no work ethic. It just spoiled rotten, man. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. It's back to just, I mean, I feel like it is true when they tell you, you know, when life puts you at your lowest, you can kind of learn and see that you should appreciate everything you did have, or you don't appreciate it until it gets taken away from you. I believe that a lot. Back to like you were saying, when you get taken away, you kind of have everything. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire, if it doesn't matter if you know, have $200 in your savings account. When you're in there, everybody's the same. You have whatever everybody can get.
Your inmate number, such and such.
Exactly. You're no longer who you are. You're that number.
Yeah.
So it getting pulled away from you, a lot of it's like a blessing to certain people if you make it that. But it also, I feel like it's a very important lesson that a lot of people could use because of that. Because you grow up, you really, you know, like you say, you're spoiled. You don't have to learn how to, you know, manage with no water some days, or collect water out of a tank, or take showers outside with buckets or anything like that. You don't really realize that stuff here. When you go out there and see that they're making it work with almost nothing, or, you know, they're trying to, there's people out there that even belts, you break a belt, you know, they're sewing that belt back together. There's actually shops for that. And put these belts back together. If the insole, I mean the sole of your shoe comes off, they'll put a boot sole or another sneaker sole and sew it on, and now you have a new sole, so now you can use that shoe for, you know, X amount of time again.
Yeah.
So being able to go through all that stuff and see all that stuff, and people still smiling and happy and enjoying, but they don't have not even half the stuff you have. It's definitely a blessing for people that are here to have what you are able to have, whether if it's the smallest thing.
I'm a no-nonsense type of person, and when I hear people complain or whining about here, I always ask them the same question. Have you ever been to other countries? Because I'm curious, like, have you seen other, like, don't tell me you went to, like, you know, London or Paris, but, like, have you ever been to, like, South America? Have you ever been to the Middle East? Have you ever been to, like, countries, the islands that are struggling? Because you will realize that your first world struggles are nothing compared to third world struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. So, next question I have for you is, like myself, you have overcome obstacles and setbacks in your life. What was the key to helping you make it through those tough times?
I've always been the type of person to have the mindset of sticking to your plan. So, you know, anything you go through, whether it doesn't work the first attempt, or there's things that get in your way, or things like that, always stick to the plan that you have. And it's really the goal. It's not really like, it may not work of, you know, my step was to buy this truck, then buy the truck, then buy a trailer, then start, you know, X company with this. And it didn't work out because you didn't find a trailer. It's just, your goal at the end of the day was start a business, really. So when you wanted to start that business, or you wanted to do whatever you wanted to do at the end, buy a home, whatever, whether your path changes, but the plan has to stay the same. So staying, you know, consistent with what you really want to do, and not venturing off, or because you see this person doing this, or because you hear that, you know, you can't do it, or something like that. Just sticking to that plan, no matter what you know, your lowest or your highest. I feel like that's the biggest thing for me to go through any obstacle that comes through. It's just always knowing that your end goal was this, and why you wanted it. And if it's truly something you wanted for yourself, or is it just for impressing other people, or is it just for this person told you should do that? If it's truly what you want to do, you're going to do whatever it takes to get to that. So just finding whatever that goal is that you can make a plan for and stick to that.
It's funny, as you was first talking, the thought of entrepreneurship was coming through my head, and the reason why is, my wife was saying the other day, she doesn't like how, like, a lot of entrepreneurship is glorified, and it's almost like the little gallant and 9-to-5 workers. But I think that's like more of a social media trend. I don't think that's like, because the entrepreneurs that I know, that I've met, that she's met, they don't act like that. And they don't think like that. It's the ones like on their social media, it's like, buy my plan, do this, walk away, don't be a corporate slave, blah, blah, blah. I think that's more of what she meant. And I told her, I was like, I get tired of hearing that all the time, because a lot of that's not true. And I was like, you know, when you set out to entrepreneurship, it doesn't matter what the business model is. Most business models, it could be you went and opened your own restaurant, or it could be that you open a mobile detail service like you have. It could be that you have a rental company like myself. It doesn't necessarily matter, but 90% of businesses that fail within the first 3 years.
Yeah.
So you're going to go through struggles the first 3 years. So people think they're going to jump out there and make all this money really quick. And there's exceptions to the rule. That does happen sometimes. But the majority of the time, you have to build the foundation, and you have to put the walls up, then the roof, then the sheetrock, then the paint, and blah, 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 blah. That's how you build a business. That's how you build a house. And a lot of people, they don't see that. And real successful businesses take time. And for anyone that works in a corporate world to rebuttal to me and be like, I don't know what the average entrepreneur is, but let's just say a normal person that leaves their business, starts out, makes $50,000, $75,000, $100,000. Well, I like to say to those people that have, the 9-to-5 attitude of looking at them like, well, that's not so good. Well, that's starting off. Where was you at when you started off? When you started in the corporate world, was you making 40,000 or 140? It doesn't necessarily matter. That wasn't your goal to stick at 40 or stick at 140. If you was the person that got hired on at 40, after a year or two, hopefully you're up to 50. After another year or two, hopefully you're up to 60. After another year or two, you're up to 70, 89. And if you started off at 140, the same thing. I don't think that a person that is qualified to have a job starting at 140 thinks, I'm going to stay right here for the rest of my life. I think they're eventually want to make 150, 160, 170, 180. As you go along, you're 10 years into your career, 15 years into your career. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship. Sometimes you might get lucky and one of your businesses might strike gold, but the majority of the time you have to build them. So if in year 1 you make 70,000, year 2 you make 90, year 3 you make 110, year 4 you make 130, and you continue to grow and stick with it and don't give up when the hard times hit, and you have those goals like you just said and you lock them in and you don't let nothing knock you off that vision, that's how you succeed. It's like, I don't know if you listen to any of the podcasts where I talk about studying great people. When I was locked away, because I wanted to understand what made them different than other people. And one thing that they all had in common, from like Marcus Aurelius to Martin Luther King to Nelson Mandela to Steve Jobs to Michael Jordan to Warren Buffett, is that they all had these goals and these beliefs. And no matter how many times they got rejected, no matter how many shots they missed, no matter how many times they got knocked down, they got right back up and kept going towards the goal.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't stop until they reached the goal.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let anything get in their way. So that was a good answer. I appreciate that. I just wanted to elaborate on that because that was what was coming to my mind when you was talking. So don't give up, no matter what your goals or your dreams are. No matter what comes at your way, there's going to be obstacles. We're going to lose family members and loved ones. Self-inflicted wounds, breakups, failures money-wise. But those are just speed bumps in the road of life.
Yeah. That can happen with anything. So if you're going to apply it, with life, with a sickness, things like that, you're not going to let that just be the end of everything. So if you're not going to let that stuff affect you in your everyday life, or with your kid or with your wife or husband or anything like that, you shouldn't let that do for your career or something that's going to help you provide to the future that you want to do.
Yeah, because adversity will strike at some point for everybody.
Definitely.
So, the next question I have for you is, when you went away to serve time, what was it like being away from your family and trying to keep a positive and strong mindset back there?
Great question. So that was very eye-opening at first. So when you go in there, like you said, you become a number. You're just lost. It's around people. You're sleeping next to people that you don't know. You're eating next to people. It's people using the bathroom next to you. So all this stuff that you're used to, your privacy and all that stuff, like I said, gets taken away. All your advantages or whatever you had. The only thing that I looked forward to was, like I said, my kids, my family, parents, and I've always been a family person. So the biggest thing that took a toll on me in there was family and things like that, being away, all that stuff. The only thing I can think of was taking that time, like everybody used to tell me, is take that time to try to build yourself, try to, we've had conversations before, working out, being, the best you, working out, more healthy, getting bigger, getting stronger mentally, physically, and things like that. So I had a great support system to also help, phone calls, everything like that, anything I ever needed. So that helped me string along, but mostly your mental has to be there. I've seen a lot of people in there and within 2 weeks just lose it. I've seen people in a couple of days go in there and lose it. So your mental stability has to be good. And like I said, I was mostly focused on, I knew that this wasn't the end for me. So just while I'm here, what am I going to do to make myself either not be back to this, or also when I get out, what's going to be better than when I left off before I left. So back to sticking to the plan and sticking to what you do. You have to set something for yourself and prepare yourself that it's not the end thing for you, and family support. You have kids, you have things that still rely on you no matter what. You're not just somebody just got thrown away. You're still important and stuff like that. So just all that self-inflicting stuff where you talk to yourself about how good of a person you are, what you've done, looking back at the mistakes you've made, what you could have done better, and all that stuff. And then all that, before you know it, you're working on yourself better than you've ever done before. And that just pushes you even more and more and more to get through that dark stage that you're going through at that moment.
That's a good answer. I always find it fascinating talking to other people that have served time. I did a podcast interview with a lady named Faiza, and she did 11 years of Fed time. I did a podcast interview with David. He did 8.5 years state time. We actually had ran into each other in prison with each other before, ran into each other during, and know each other now. And then a really good friend of mine, Damon, that we did time together. He actually came and I let him interview me. It was really cool. But hearing different people's perspective on time, the way they did time, how their mindset was, it's fascinating. I'm curious about it because, obviously we all have to do time different. I got sentenced to quite a bit of time. So mine was, I'm sure a lot of things have been different for me if I knew I only had to serve, a couple years. But when I went away, having to serve 15, you don't even know if you're going to make it out 15 years later. It's hard to see down the road, especially at that young age, to see down the road 15 years, So I had to shut off certain parts of me and go into a soldier mode, to survive. But then also still work on my mental and my physical, like you said, and even my moments of having moments dealing with my mom or my daughters, because I kind of cut a lot of people out of my life during that time because I didn't want to be stuck in half street mode and half prison mode. I felt like that wasn't the safest way for me to do my time because I had so much time. So I just had to go into soldier mode. So I shut a lot of the street off, and most of my dealings was just with my mom and my daughters. And even in those moments, I would only allow myself to cool it down for a second and then put it back up, because I didn't have the ability to be weak under the circumstances I was in, especially at some of the prisons I was at. Yeah. And I had to keep that mindset locked in. And the entire time, just educating myself, studying, reading, sharpening my physical and mental being, and trying to get in touch with my spirituality. It changed my life and helped me grow, and I wouldn't be the person I am today without that. I literally used that time to my advantage. I didn't let the time do me, I did it. And what I mean by that is I didn't sit back there and rot away or get institutionalized or let it get the better of me. I used that time to just sharpen myself. So when I came home, I would be able to do the things that I've done for myself. Yeah, exactly. And have the things that I have now. So I think it's really cool getting other people's insight that have done time and where their mind was at and how they got through. And you didn't skip a beat, man.
Yeah.
You didn't skip a beat, brother. Yeah.
It's definitely, it can be hard, man, but it's just what you make out of it. I see a lot of people that I met in there where you can tell, it's just, they've been there 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and they just, it's not like they learn, they don't really, but you ask them, what were you doing out there? What do you have for yourself out there? What are you trying to do? It's really no plans, nothing. So that's the people that I don't see do anything with it, but if you use it to your advantage, so like you said, building yourself and, getting more of knowledge of whatever you wanted to do in the industry, whether it's trucking, whether it's, anything, it definitely helps you, and it definitely takes a pause. I came home and explained to everybody that would ask me about stuff and things like that. The biggest thing, I told them, it's when you're out here, everything's so fast paced. So you're going and moving, and it's work, it's kids, it's family, it's this, it's friends, social media. Everything is just going. You're trying to purchase this, and when you purchase that, okay, what am I purchasing next? This, that. So when you're moving, you don't really see what you're trying to do or what exactly you have or what you want to do for yourself. When you're in there, everything's all right, paused. You know what I'm saying? It's very slow motion. You're wanting the time to move faster because you want your date to come quicker. So when that time is not moving, it's even slower to you. But you're sitting on your bunk, or you're sitting in the chow hall, or you're sitting out there just walking laps or whatever, it's going through your head, okay, like, what am I going to do, or what's this, or what's that, you know. You don't really get that chance of thinking of that, you know, settle down and relax and pay attention to what you really have in front of you or what you almost lost or whatever. So you pay attention to a lot more stuff that you don't really pay attention here. When you use that to your advantage, I think 100 times better than I was thinking before that ever happened. So
I agree. I call it my timeout.
Yeah, definitely. Something.
I went to timeout for a little bit. I had to get my mind right.
Yeah, you need it. Definitely. Sometimes you need it.
For real, man. A lot of us need it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be breaking no damn law to need a timeout. Because I know a lot of people that don't break any laws except for the way they treat themselves.
Yeah, and can use a timeout.
Yeah. All right. So the next question I have for you is: you are also an entrepreneur? What made you choose to go that route instead of the normal work path?
So I'm the type of person that likes to pick my own schedules, pick my own time. I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it. So my first, not my first, but one of my like more, I don't know, by the book jobs, other than like little cell phone stores that pay in cash and things like that. I used to do marble floors restoration for night shift. When I did the night shift stuff, I used to go out like at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd get out like at 2 in the morning, or sometimes I would go in at 10 o'clock at night, get out for like 6, 7 in the morning for like at Apple stores and things like that. When I would do this stuff, I really had no time to do anything. I would tell my cousin, because he worked in the same company, so we would work and rest all through the day and then go to work at night. Work through the day or in the morning, whatever, get up and work again. We had no schedule Monday through Friday to do anything. Saturday and Sunday you kind of want to rest, or if you have kids, you spend time with them, and it's like you really don't have time to do anything. So my biggest thing was, let me try to find something that I like doing. I started doing it on the side, and then from there I ended up saying, you know what, even if I can make or just a little bit less or match the paycheck that I'm getting at this 9 to 5, reporting to this boss, working his hours, asking him when I can, take a trip or a vacation. If I could just match that or even be a little less, my peace of mind and my freedom to do as I please or how I please or have more time with my kids, vacations, things like that, to me was worth unlimited money. So when I compared those two, I jumped in it for that. I said, it's not for me to be the next richest person. It's not for me to make X amount of money. I really did it for my freedom, for me to be able to have the flexibility for family. And I ended up doing that, and I think when I first started my business, I think I would work maybe 2 days a week. But in those 2 days, I would make what I was making Monday through Friday at this 9 to 5. So I was like, I'm fine, even if it stays like this at that point. And then you obviously have bigger, goals, and you want to take your company to the next level, and you want to build more clientele and stuff like that. And it just started growing because, like I said, it's something I enjoyed doing. I knew I had a plan that I wanted to start my own business. After working and matching my income that I had before, I started growing a little bit more, and then my next goal was, within this many years, I want to be able to put somebody in the company. When I put somebody in, then I can be able to manage it, so now I can access more things to do. Because like you said, the first 3 years are kind of hectic. So you're managing stuff, clients, products, you're still learning stuff as you go, all that stuff. So my biggest thing was flexibility, time, and all that stuff, and getting that by any means of building my clientele and stuff like that. Even if I was only working 2 days a week, I knew my freedom and my flexibility for my family was the biggest thing for me.
I did an interview a few weeks back with another gentleman who was an entrepreneur, and we was giving advice to people watching or listening of what we thought they should do. And one of the things I said was exactly what you just said: to walk away from whatever your job is, from a really small job or a really big job, whatever job you're going to leave it for to do on your own, as long as you can match that salary. So I was basically saying, if your salary was $100,000, as long as what you're about to walk away to do can make that $100,000, you don't have to make more, not less, but as long as you can match it, then you can make that move. The one caveat I said was, make sure that you have a year's worth of bill money saved up. The reason I said that as a caveat is because that's what I did, and I know a lot of other successful people, that's what they did as well. The reason why is because when you walk away from the steady paycheck to the unknown paycheck, even though you kind of already have a little bit of a sample size of what you think you're going to make, is there's unforeseen issues that will come up.
Yeah.
So that way you have that backup money, and then you're golden from there as long as you have that.
Yeah, and that's definitely, especially if it's your first business that you've ever started, or your first business that you're starting into? Like I said, detailing, wrapping cars and stuff like that was all one business that I jumped into. Didn't know everything about, but I mean, I took courses. I just started doing this. But like I said, I started up on the side just to get my feet wet, seeing how everything went. And then once I started seeing that, I can actually go somewhere with this, and like you said, match my income, charging whatever you charge per detail, and it can match, your $500 or $600 or $700 or $800, whatever you're making that week. I'm like, okay, well, this is only with 1 day, so imagine if I did it 3 days, or imagine if I could do it, 5 days a week. I could definitely make it work. And then you make that jump. Like you said, it is scary, regardless if you do it, because you're leaving something that's guaranteed every Friday, but you're also winning a lot more if you do make that transition and take that risk. The savings part is a big deal. Not only for the year's rent, there's things that pop up. You've seen, even now I deal with stuff where, I came detail stuff and your pressure washer might go out, or the van might not start, or you might get a tow somewhere in the middle of 2 customers. So those things do happen. It's always good to build yourself, have a plan, not necessarily, I don't like the backup plan idea of, well, if this doesn't work, I feel like you're setting yourself up for it.
I agree 100%.
So my thing is, if you can make it work, do what you have to do to make it work. I mean, if something breaks, okay, where am I getting this fixed? Because it has to work. I made this jump, or I'm halfway in already. I have to make it work. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened with me. I bought the van. I was looking for vans. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna find a van in my price range that I was looking for. I bought it. Bought a whole bunch of equipment, all that stuff. I wasn't working anywhere for, I don't know, probably like a month. So like you said, that savings helps out, but I was also kicking a lot of money out into building this van, how I wanted it set up, how easy I wanted it to be when I access my van at a customer's house. I don't want to be, tangling this, setting up this. I don't use customers' water, nothing like that. So when I set all this stuff up, I knew the conveniency, the time, everything, and I dedicated that stuff. No matter what goes on, this has to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mindset, man.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. You have to have a positive mindset and never give up and have your goals and stick with them, like you said. So one question I get asked a lot is about like insurance as an entrepreneur. Obviously, when you step out and you go on your own and you become an entrepreneur, you have to deal with insurance on your own. That's a lot of people that I know that are entrepreneurs, whether it's a man or a woman that has a partner. It's very weird. Very rarely do I meet a couple where both are entrepreneurs. Usually one of them is an entrepreneur and one of them works a job, and then the other one will get on their insurance. I guess in situations where either you're single or you're not married, it puts you in a situation where you have to get your own insurance. What advice would you give to others about that?
Like you said, in my situation, the same thing. My wife works in 9 to 5. I'm the entrepreneur part on my side. But it's mostly, like you said, it's a mindset thing. You have to assure yourself that this is what you want to do and this and that. And if you have that help from a partner, girlfriend, wife, whatever, or husband or boyfriend, if it works or it doesn't work, I'm here to back you up. You know what I mean? So if it does work, I'm here. If it doesn't work, I'm here. We're not gonna go to this other path. We're still gonna make this work. We're just gotta find a way, to help each other out and stuff like that. So that was my insurance part on everything. Was, like you said, sticking to what you have to do and what you want to do, and then just making it work. Different businesses bring different, insurances as far as depending on what you're doing. I'm pretty sure, properties are a lot more risk, but it's also a lot more benefits and stuff like that, as compared to, your guy that just bought maybe a lawnmower and a weed eater, and, they can sell it if it doesn't work or whatever. So properties are not that easy to just get rid of.
No.
A lot more money invested, so it depends on what you want to do. I'm open for anybody that has any types of dreams, whether it be small or big. My thing is really, it's good to have that support system, but at the end of the day, know what you're doing it for, and this is something you want to do. So even if somebody doesn't support you, like you said, there's always going to be an obstacle in it, and not necessarily always negative, but if you have a partner that's not really all the way on the same path as you, and you strongly believe in it, all you have to do is really ask for that patience. That patience, even if it's not, financially or anything like that, that patience that that person can give you is worth a lot too.
Yeah, and also if you're going to be in a real relationship, a solid relationship, you know, man or woman, and you have one that does one and one that does the other, the person on both sides needs to have patience and understanding of the other. As an entrepreneur and someone that has a very, you know, free spirit and open mindset, my wife and I own two businesses, and then I own a third business which she's part owner of, but she has a corporate job. She works corporate 9 to 5, and you know, I love my wife. I support my wife through anything, and you know, I actually try to give her help and advice with work the best that I can, and I support her fully, and very proud of all the promotions and the hard work that she's done and put in over the years. And she does the same back for me as an entrepreneur. She knows that that's not really my thing, and she knows that, you know, I have found ways to become very successful. And I think that she appreciates, you know, that also gives me free time. I do mentoring with kids, you know, I do training, you know, I do stuff around the house. I do stuff to build our business that we, you know, started together. And she knows, you know, I do my speaking and my podcast, and I try to help the community out. So it gives me the opportunity to be able to do those things and be the man that I am. Because if I was stuck, you know, having to go somewhere, spend an hour to drive there, 8 hours in the office, hour home, I would have never been as successful and had as much freedom to do the things that I have. So yeah, to each their own, man. If you have a partner that's one way or the other, support each other, have each other's back, build each other up, have patience, have respect for each other, man. Because that's what real solid couples will do.
Definitely.
So, all right, let's dig into some more questions, man. The next one I got for you is, what motivates you to be successful?
My kids. My biggest motivation, family. My kids, you know, being able to give them, and a lot of people use the scenario of give them what I didn't have or things like that. So it is kind of cliche. But really, in all reality, it's my kids. So, like you said, the flexibility and time that you can give your kids, that's part of my success. Is if I'm not the richest person ever, I'm fine with that. As long as I can give my kids, my family, myself, my energy, and you know, be around and stuff like that. That motivates me a whole lot. So when I see things of what I've been able to do for them, or a trip that I'm able to take them, or I mean anything that I can provide for the kids or their happiness, or you know, if they say, Dad, can we go, I don't know, Dave & Buster's today? And just to be able to say, yeah, that's fine, let's go. You know what I mean? Like with no issue or things like that. One, because I have the time, I'm controlling the schedule. And two, because I'm financially stable because of the steps that I was able to take and the risks that I was able to take. So it's really, for me, family, and just I know as a kid what I've wanted. And that's always been, you know, I've always wanted a farm, I've always wanted property, I've always done things like that. And slowly, once you see some of these things that you're gaining access to and you're starting to see that you're able to do or very close to, I feel like it pushes you to keep going to something else. Because now you're accomplishing this, like, you're like, oh, it is true. Like, if I stuck to it, I can get it. So now I have this, so damn, let me put my mind into this and try to accomplish that. So that motivation to me is not only family, but it's also the goals you set for yourself.
I agree 100%, man. And, you know, I came up in a struggle, and there was times I ate out of trash cans. There was times I was passing 13 homes in a year. There was times we had nothing, wearing clothes in the Salvation Army to school, getting picked on, man, and not having nothing, moving around all the time, you know, being an awkward kid. A lot of bad stuff happened to me as a kid as well. And I came from, you know, a lot of dysfunction, and saw a lot of violence and had a lot of violence done to me. You know, during my time out, I reevaluated my life, and as I was training myself, made a lot of decisions that I didn't want any of that stuff in my life anymore. I wanted to remove all that stuff from my life and not have that a part of my life anymore. And then I wanted to build a good life from myself. I wanted to have a wife. I wanted to have a home. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to make my mom proud. I wanted to make my daughter Silver proud. I gave a speech one time. It was the first time that Silver ever saw me speak in person. And I said that I could never let my daughter see me fail. I know that when I was gone, you know, people like to kick you when you're down. And I know a lot of people said a lot of bad things about me. I know a lot of people took a lot of shots at me. I know a lot of people said stuff to my mom and to my daughter about me. And, you know, I wanted to prove everybody wrong. I wanted to make them choke on their words. And I had all these goals and aspirations of these things I wanted to do. I thought about, like, how when we were poor and we didn't have food, I used to sit there and think, man, like at Thanksgiving and Christmas, we'd have to go get food. from the church, these boxes, and my mom would cook it. Because of that, we had a meal. But I would think to myself, man, I wish there was someone out there that was cool and knew what I was going through that would look out for us. And so one of the things I thought about when I was locked up was, as soon as I start making some money on Christmas and Thanksgiving, I'm going to buy boxes of food and I'm going to go pass them out. And I've done that, 6 or 7 years in a row. So, being able to do stuff like that now and have the life and in my mind, I wanted to be a motivational speaker, and I wanted to mentor kids, and I wanted to do life coaching and leadership coaching. I wanted to help people be better versions of themselves. I mean, even now, the Be the Best You podcast, and just help other people strengthen themselves mentally and physically, letting people know that whatever obstacles that they had to endure in life, and no matter how tough life has been, that they can overcome it, and that you can do better. So just taking all the pain, the hurt, and using it as fuel and motivation to be positive, turn my life around, and then not only turn my life around, but to make myself successful, which gives me the opportunity to help other people and push and motivate. So it could be me giving you a box of food, it could be giving you, life or relationship advice. It could be me helping you get in better shape. It could be, me mentoring your kid. It could be, something you saw me post on YouTube that, made you wake up and want to stop drinking or turn your life around. It doesn't matter, man. Like, whatever's happened to you, good or bad, you can use it as motivation. And it's weird, because it doesn't stop, because I love my wife so much. We have this crazy good relationship, and she's my best friend, and we are really, really close. And she works so hard to become a better person all the time, and she's helped me become a better person. And if you talk to her, maybe she would say the same thing the other way around. I don't want to ever let my wife down. She's proud of the man I am, and she says kind things to me about who I am. I would like for her to always feel that way and say those things about me. I don't ever want to let her down or disappoint her or disrespect her. So there's a kind of motivation in that. Man, I want to make my wife proud every day. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you can find motivation in anything.
Yeah, almost anything. And whatever it is, it's always going to work for you, because it's something that if you're thinking about it consistently and you're looking for that, like you said, that appreciation, just that thank you for doing this, or I've noticed this, or this and that. When you find that, it's a feeling you get where it's like, well, this is all worth it. And it's not, like I said, it's not always financial support. It's not always, a cash prize. Sometimes it's just the words of thank you, or just, I like the way you did this, or you're working on this. So you're like, all right, well, what else can I do? Let me make myself better for kids, for your wife, or anything. That motivation can be found, like I said, in a million different things.
I felt really bad, man, because I let myself get out of character for a little bit. You remember when my mom died a few years back, and I've been home 8 years. I was home 2 years when my mom died, and one of the things I really wanted to do was to show her a lot of things and make her proud and let her see all of this, and she passed away and didn't get to see. She got to see some, but she didn't get to see everything I wanted her to see, and I took that really hard. I beat myself up about that, you want to prove these people wrong, you want to show your daughter, you want to show your mom, you wanted to show all these people, you want to be successful, but probably the main two people I wanted to show, and not a show off way, but in a show love, look what I'm doing, was my mom and my daughter Silver at that time. And when she passed away, I felt like, it was unfair, and I was upset and disappointed I didn't get a chance to. But I really had to flip that mindset, man, because it was not doing me any good, and you can't change that. And I had to remember, your own words, man. Life is going to come at you, and it's going to hit you, and just because you plan something to go a certain way doesn't mean that that's how it's going to go. So now I'm faced with feeling like this and stepping out of character. So I have a choice in that moment in time. Do I let this obstacle throw me off course, or do I do what we just talked about and smack yourself and get yourself back on point? All right, she's not here physically, but you're a very spiritual person, and if you believe that, then you know that in a spiritual form, your mom can see the good that you're doing.
Yeah.
So flipping that mindset, man.
Yeah, you have to. It'll definitely take you down. I've been a victim of that. That there's things where you've seen the process of my house and all that stuff. So it could be the littlest thing where this is not going to be able to be the way you wanted it to. It has to be less, or it has to be this, or this has to be changed. And it's not what you're you start getting discouraged, and you close yourself in that hole. And sometimes it's even deeper than the hole you started before you even met that goal.
Then you got to remind yourself about that third world country.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. For being grateful for what you can get and what you have, and some things are just not, meant the way you actually planned it.
Yeah.
And there's also, I'm a strong believer, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But sometimes it changes just a little bit, and like I said, we get discouraged closing, and we're like, you know what, I don't want none of it. I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to do that. I give up, whatever. And it's the worst thing you can do. You take 2 steps back and realize, okay, you know what, it's not a big deal. I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna do this. Later on, I can add this on or grow into that or change certain things and make it work.
Because the universe has a way of pushing you in the direction it wants. It knows what you want, and sometimes we're pushing a little bit the wrong way, and it just needs to redirect us a little bit. Shut one door so we can open another door. I'm not going to divulge into your personal business, but I'm just going to give you an analogy. Someone was going to build a house, and they realized that the money in the house didn't match up, so they had to downsize a little bit. And the advice I gave them was, so what? Downsize and build it. Because that's part of what was already approved to you. Go ahead and do that. Because here's what you can do. You don't need their money to do an extension. So 1 year from now, when you build it, make sure there's a back end and have a plan. I'm going to build this room onto here. 1 year from now, use your own money or whatever and add on to it, and now you have that home. So like there's, and the room you build on doesn't have to follow a plan. The room you add on can literally be your own design. So then when you get done with that 1 year later, you look at it and you're like, damn, I'm glad I did it this way, because this wouldn't have looked like this if I did it the other way. So like, yeah, just, finding the positive mindset in it.
Yeah.
So the next question I have for you is, what's the most difficult thing you've ever had to overcome?
Most difficult. I think the biggest thing was settling. I was used to. I don't think it's really something specific, but a lot of times I would close in, like not flip the switch. I would settle for whatever. I had a time where I was really like all over the place, that little immature stage where I wasn't really focused. I didn't really care. I didn't really care about the savings. And this was all right before I met my wife. I did all this stuff, and she kind of helped me through all this stuff. It was like, it's going to be okay. This is the way, I'm here to support you through this, through that. But the biggest for me was that whole, that stage of, it is what it is. I'll make it work. I'm just going to close in here. And then, family members, my grandfather passed away. After he passed away, it was a year later, my grandmother passed away. So seeing these things happen, back to back, when my grandmother passed away was when I was in prison. So I felt like everything was just climbing on top. I was like, maybe this is the end. Like everything I did right before coming to prison, it's it. Like I'm here now. When I get out, it's start back from zero. Is it even worth, doing this or doing that? I might just go work, go do that. So I think that stage of, family members passing away, prison, all it happening in one, moment or time frame, was one of my biggest things. And like you said, mentally that switch, sometimes you have to sit down and really look at everything, that life, in all reality, no matter what you're doing, bad or good decisions, is still going on. So, the people are still going to come collect that rent on the first. People are still going to come and, expect you to come do business, clients and stuff like that, no matter what's going on. So my biggest thing was getting out of that hole of, this is what you're feeling, this is what you're going through, this is what life's going to keep throwing at you. What are you going to do out of it, though? Like, are you going to make something out of this? Are you going to become 2 times stronger than you were before? So that moment, that prison, the family members, and then me just already being stuck in the immature ways right before going away, that was my biggest phase of transitioning to what my mentality is now, what I can do now, and that basically your goals are unlimited.
There's probably about 10 people that I keep in contact with from prison that are doing extremely successful.
Yeah.
No offense if you're not doing well with yourself and you're messing up, and from back there, I'll say what's up, but that's what we'll keep on riding after that. But those guys that I know that come out and like hold that shit down and are doing very well for themselves and being very successful, they all have a similar mindset to what you just said. A lot of people, a lot of those guys, even myself, we either had like a survivor's mentality, a hustler's mentality, good people may be misguided a little bit, and that time out really makes you see things in a different way. You know, there's a saying that you have to fall to lose it all, and we grow our most in times of loss and despair and hurt and tragedy and loss. So when you have that and you have to overcome, and you're sitting in there in a timeout and you grow and you start to look at things in a different way, you know, your mindset is different, and people sometimes they don't understand it and they question it, like what are you doing, what are you thinking? They don't know because they didn't lose that. And I'm not saying that everybody that goes back there goes through that, because like you said, a lot of people are mindlessly just going through their time like they are their lives out here. But those of us that are deep thinkers and think and actually think about being better, we think about our mistakes. We think about the areas where we messed up. We think about where we can grow and how we can be better, what we can do and how we can overcome. And then we apply that. And that's how we become who we are, we become better. And we all, as long as we allow ourselves, will continue to grow and evolve and become better and smarter and sharper, as long as we continue to take in good knowledge, educate ourselves, understand our faults, who we are, how we can be better, challenge ourselves to do better, to grow, to be a better person. And if we apply that in our lives, like I know you have and I have, and there's other guys I mentioned have, you know, what's funny is I see a lot of people that never were in our shoes and never went through what we went through, but we are a lot better people than them. And, you know, I don't like to say that like in an arrogant, smug way, but there's something about turning it around and coming from one area and going to another area. Like, you know, people would see me. They see me like muscles, tattoos, you know, I got a mouth on me sometimes, whatnot, and, you know, people will judge me, I only did time and everything, but I would challenge you to find a better person than me. You know, I respect my wife, I respect my family, I don't do anything disrespectful, I treat strangers with the utmost respect, I'm kind to everybody, I will give you the shirt off my back, I mentor kids for free, I take time out of my life to do everything I can to help people. And I'm not saying that bragging, I'm saying it was fact. That's my life, that's who I am, that's how I live every single day. And so, most people don't live their lives like that, man. Yeah. Most people just don't live their lives like that. And so, when I see other people living their lives a certain way, and it's funny to me, you're sitting back judging me, but I'm watching you, what you do with your life, and when I look at you, what you're doing with your life, and I look at me, what I'm doing with my life, like, there's no real comparison. Yeah. So, you know, much respect to you for overcoming that and understanding your mistakes, growing, becoming a better person, coming home, staying focused, succeeding, you know, caring about your family, wanting to do the right thing. Much respect on that, man. I've done the same thing. I remember you talking to me, asking me questions before you went, you know, and talking to you after you came home. And I'm glad that, not glad that you went and did the time, but I'm glad that while you was doing the time, that you did the way you did and you came home with the attitude that you came home with.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I wish a lot more people, I mean, I don't wish it bad on nobody, but a lot more people, like you said, could use that. Could use that pause, could use that slow down and stuff like that to wake up and see, even if it's just to appreciate it or to build something out of it. I do think that I'm just the same way as you. I'm a very friendly, social, helping people out, stuff like that. I had also a very small circle in there, even out here, people that I still keep in contact with while they're in there. My biggest thing is if I can help you, talk to you through, tell you what's going on out here and what you can do, and you might tell me you have a goal of, you know, your CDL and stuff like that, where I'll tell you, listen, like now, you know, load boards are doing this and this and that. Everything that I can give you as far as knowledge or help or what I did when I first came out to transition into establishing somewhat of a good base to accomplish whatever else you want to accomplish later. That's always been me. I'm always, like you said, take the shirt off the back, friendly, helpful, and don't expect nothing in return. And even if you've done me wrong, by all means, you did it for whatever reason, but at the end of the day, I'm going to still do this because this is what I am and this is what I am. My wife gets on me a lot about that. Sometimes you're a little bit too friendly, or you like to, you know, help too many people, or will they do this and that. But at the end of the day, I can't help it because it's just what we are. It's just who we are. It's just how we've been. And it's what I'm continue doing because it makes me feel good. Everybody knows that my intentions have been pure from the beginning. What you do with it, when I give you those helps or advice or my ear for you to talk or whatever, then that's on you. But from this point, I'm always going to be this person where I'm gonna help. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to do the stuff like any of the businesses, like I told you. My Turo business that I ended up starting, it was really for that same thing. Like you said, you help your wife and she helps you and your entrepreneur stuff. But like I said, I set a goal. I said, you know what, if it makes my car payment, the car sits there anyways. If it actually makes the car payment, I have a free car at the end of the day. It's just paying itself. I use it whenever I want to. And then from there it becomes a business and things like that. But it's always starts, I think, from us trying to do something better for ourselves, but also help other people and be that social person. And that's what brings you along to, not just the mindset of, I want to start a business, but it also, all that social skills and all that stuff builds all that.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So, it wouldn't be the Be the Best You podcast if I didn't ask this question. So, with this being the Be the Best You podcast, give everyone that is watching or listening today one piece of advice or motivation.
My biggest piece of advice, I think it would be staying focused. I mean, I think that focused, what I think that everybody should do at first is take some time to just sit down, whether it's writing it down, thinking it to yourself, anything like that, is take that time to self-reflect first, and then from there, find something that you've been really wanting to do, you kept seeing videos about, or you kept looking up, something you want to accomplish, whether it be business, whether it be a goal, whether it be a garden you wanted to do, whatever it is, stick to that plan. Stick to that plan, and by any means, always make time for what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then keep pushing no matter what comes your way and things like that. Like I said, it may not go exactly the path you made or you thought it was going to go, step by step. It might be, do it this way, or do it smaller, or do it, not in 2 months, do it in 3 months. But if you stick to it, I think that in life, anything, you can accomplish. I mean, it's endless what you can do as long as you stick to that plan and stop venturing off to so many other distractions, which is a big thing for us. There's many distractions out here.
Distractions everywhere.
Yeah.
You better stay focused. Listen to that, man. Dennis, man, tell anybody out there how they can find you, whether it's a website, social media handles, email, whatever information you want to give them.
Yeah, my personal page is dgiovanni12 on Instagram, Dennis Valdez on Facebook. My company's page is Shine Auto Mobile Detailing on Instagram as well. We also are on Google. So yeah, that's pretty much the...
You got a direct email where they can send you a message or anything?
Yeah, it's dgiovanni12@gmail.com. Giovanni with a G.
Hit that man up if you're in the Charlotte area, man. This man will take care of you. Dennis.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you for coming on and answering the questions.
Thank you for having me.
So listen, man, if you like today's episode, leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about it. Maybe ask us some questions or give us some topics that you'd like for us to discuss next time. Share this video, man. Get this information out there. This could help a lot of people. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like, man. Give us a thumbs up, man. Give us some recognition and help us out. This has been another episode of the Be the Best You podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Try it until you fly.